Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Chicken farmers left at the peril of predial larceny. Opposition reacts to calls from hotelier for mask removal for school-aged children. Sports, JFF's appeal to FIFA thrown out on procedural basis. I'm Krista Campbell and here are the details. Chicken farmers in Bernard Lodge, St. Catherine are appealing for help from the Ministry of Agriculture after thieves stole millions of dollars worth of livestock and equipment on the weekend. O'Shane Masters has our report.
Livestock farmers in St. Catherine have been dealing with increased pressure from predial larcenists since the ending of last year. At that time, there was an increase in the theft of goats. Now, chicken farmers are feeling the impacts. On Saturday, the hoodlums targeted 2 chicken farms in the Bernard Lodge area. Kamar Daly, who lost equipment, says it was not the first time his farm had been targeted. Mr. Daly suffered $5 million in losses during Saturday's incident.
Everything gone. All the whole of the solar them for run the fridge, the generator, 100 sheet of zinc pan the cooktop. Everything then take away. Then just left with stranded. We just devastated, bad. We just don't know where for that. I just feel like we just give up. I don't know what to do.
Mr. Daly's neighbor, identified only as Dennis, lost more than 1,000 chickens along with other farm produce. He says the farmers have accepted that what they rear is shared with thieves who are rampant in the area. Both men say this is not the first time their businesses were broken into, but this is the worst it has been.
This time they come all out and shell it wicked. So I don't know, a discouragement come like we have to give up this, because you don't know we have a lot of overhead expense.
They are now calling for assistance from the government.
They have big help. So I beg the Minister of Agriculture, at a Colonel Charles Jordan, just a big help. Just a beg Mr. Charles some help. Just a big help, because we don't know what we are going to do again, because we can't buy back zinc, can't buy back the chicken, something, can't buy the solar them back for put on the farm. Everything then just left with stranded.
Still in St. Catherine, Glennis Harvey says she was scammed out of $80,000 while selling chickens on Friday. She told TVJ News that the buyer was sent to her by a friend. Ms. Harvey says the alleged scammer wanted 300 pounds of chicken, but while the product was being weighed, the man allegedly stole over 250 pounds of the meat.
It will affect me bad, because I borrow money, I raise the chicken and pay back loan at one time.
Ms. Harvey says she's left in a quagmire as she doesn't have the funds needed to purchase feeding or repurchase chickens. O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
Members of the opposition have responded to tweets by hotelier Adam Stewart, which have taken aim at mask-wearing requirements for children, as well as the government's announcement of a calendar of events for the vaccinated. More in this report. Popular hotelier Adam Stewart's Twitter posts causing a stir across the island, mainly because of his question about the safety of allowing children to wear masks for up to 6 hours a day to attend physical school. Another tweet his wife Jill later reshared suggests Jamaica should adopt a planned move by schools in the American state of Illinois for students to go without masks starting February 1. Now the move is to send a message to elected officials about masking children. Members of the parliamentary opposition reacted following a tour of the Port Royal cruise shipping pier on Monday.
As a parent, I would not advise my own child to go to school without wearing a mask. If I was in one of my high schools in Manchester, in Mile Gully, last week, and the contact with students is still low. And when you look at students that are turning up at school and going back home because they have contracted the virus, it should be of concern to every Jamaican and every parent.
And opposition spokesman on housing, transport and works, Michael Phillips, wants the government to go further to ensure the protocols are followed and justly enforced.
Ensuring the laws that we put in place, that those laws get gazetted. The ticketing system is one. It is really beyond me that after so long that we have Jamaicans being charged over $200,000 when there's a $5,000 ticket that could be given.
Opposition Senator and spokesperson on tourism, Janice Allen, took issue with another tweet from Adam Stewart, suggesting that the health minister's move to create a calendar of events for those who are vaccinated would discriminate against the unvaccinated.
The reality is that the majority of our citizens aren't vaccinated for various reasons. And while I would like for us to encourage and support and educate as much as possible, I didn't like or appreciate the use of the term discrimination. We don't want to have that word in our vocabulary. We don't want to ever make it seem normalized to do such. So I prefer to use words like encourage, educate, convince people to be vaccinated.
Now, the opposition members both expressed support for the calendar of events, stressing that it's one way to encourage more support for the COVID vaccination. However, Mr. Phillips says he agrees with Mr. Stewart's criticism about the inadequacies of Jamaica's health facilities in responding to the pandemic.
We have been talking too long on the build-out of our hospitals, and we have not done anything. He himself said that he could have built a hotel or two in the same time frame that the COVID has been in place. And we are expecting that the government itself cut wastage, find more resources, and put those resources in our hospitals.
Now, a medical expert is reiterating calls for the government to legislate mandatory vaccination for frontline workers. Associate Professor at the School of Public Health at the University of Technology, Dr. Alverston Bailey, says it's necessary at this time if the country is to get out of the pandemic sooner rather than later.
We need to add COVID-19 to the childhood immunization list. In my opinion, mandatory vaccination must be legislated for frontline workers such as healthcare workers, civil servants, members of the security and emergency services, and other high-risk groups. But the most important issue on the table is to provide tangible incentives for people to become vaccinated.
Dr. Bailey is also cautioning Jamaicans not to become too complacent with the decline in daily COVID-19 cases. He says the country is now at the peak of the fourth wave.
Positivity rate had reached up to 70% on the 13th of January. It is now trending slowly downward. But for the past 5 days, we have stubbornly remained at 25%. We are very far from the 5% that we hope to achieve. In my opinion, this can only be achieved through widespread vaccination. We cannot wait on herd immunity to be achieved. It's going to take too long through natural infection.
Meanwhile, the island's COVID positivity rate has dropped to 13.9%. This as 128 new cases were recorded in the last 24 hours from 2,315 test samples. The overall case count is now 126,350. According to the Ministry of Health, 387 people are now in hospital with the virus. 43 of the patients are severely ill, while 8 are critically ill. There are now 3,746 active COVID-19 cases on the island. One more person has died from the respiratory illness in Jamaica, increasing the death toll to 2,699. At the same time, 195 more people have recovered from the virus, pushing the recovery count to 71,818. A suspect in the killing of a Chinese couple in St. Elizabeth last December is now in police custody. The suspect, who was under investigation by members of the Major Investigation Division, MID, was held in St. Anne. TVJ News understands that the suspect is slated to face a series of identification parades, and so his name is being withheld. He is believed to be one of 3 men seen on CCTV video at the Chinese business place at Bellevue District in South St. Elizabeth. A man who was taken into custody over 2 weeks ago was questioned and released. Last week, the St. Elizabeth police issued a warrant for Tommy Thompson, who they say is wanted in the double murder of the Chinese couple. The Chinese nationals were killed by men posing to be customers at the business place they operated. Time now for a break, but stay tuned. More stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. Hours after a double murder in his constituency, a government member of parliament is calling for the police to implement stronger measures to address the migration of criminals. Western Westmoreland MP Moreland Wilson spoke with reporters after 8 persons were shot, 2 fatally, at an illegal party in Springfield Sunday night. According to Mr. Wilson, while the recent zone of special operation in parts of the parish capital is good, there is a downside to the limited use of the measure.
When Savlamar was held under control by the police, they did a tremendous job in curtailing the crime in the capital. You will find that these criminal elements would migrate into other communities. So this is a community you don't generally hear about at all. It's a quite quiet community with hard-working, decent Jamaicans who just want to live their lives.
It's understood that Springfield is traditionally a sugarcane farming community. But with the recent downturn in the sugar industry, some residents have turned to other means of income, such as bars and hosting parties. The police say Sunday's shooting may be linked to lottery scamming. But regardless of the motive, Mr. Wilson says a broader approach to crime fighting is needed.
To develop some unique strategy. I know it's difficult, but again, it's not an easy task and they are employed to do it. So I would want to see them come with some new strategies where they can employ to somewhat curtail crime in the entire parish, because we find now that identifying the specific communities may allow criminals to migrate to other areas.
The Jamaica Teachers Association, JTA, has given the Finance Ministry until the end of March to pay increased salaries and benefits to its members. 68% of JTA members voted to accept the 4% wage offer yesterday evening. The teachers will also get a book and software allowance of $40,000 per year. JTA President Winston Smith told TVJ News that while the teachers were not satisfied with the offer, they felt it was the best the government could do at this time.
We are expecting that all monies will be paid by the end of the financial year. So, though it is early February, we are giving the government to the end of this fiscal year to make good on all payments. Not one red cent should be carried over into the fiscal year 2022-2023. We expect the government to honor its word.
Time now for the Business Minute with Cody and Marriott.
Individuals opening accounts with JN Fund managers can now fill out their application online and upload all supporting documents. According to its Deputy General Manager, Sharon Whitelock, the digital onboarding initiative is part of its digitization strategy to deliver an enhanced client experience that is focused on ease and convenience. Jamaica's net international reserves, NIR, declined at the end of January. The NIR amounted to $3.5 billion. That was $493 million less than in December. The reserves were valued at 49 weeks of goods imports. Japanese conglomerate SoftBank has called off its planned sale of UK microchip designer arm of its US technology group, NVIDIA. When the deal was first announced in September 2020, it was valued at around $40 billion. The US chipmaker's acquisition of British design firm ARM would have been the largest semiconductor deal on record. SoftBank now aims to float ARM's shares on the stock market by the end of March next year. And that's it for the Business Minute.
And we go now to Sandra Williams with the top regional and international stories.
In regional news, in Guyana, nearly 8,000 children have been infected with COVID-19 since March 2020, with 55 of them being hospitalized after having contracted a more severe form of the virus. The authorities have said 17 children died from COVID-19. Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony said 7,831 children had contracted the virus. He added that while the vaccination numbers for the age 12 to 18 cohort is high, health officials cannot administer the vaccines to children without first having permission from their parents or guardians. According to the Ministry of Health, 23,383 children in the age 12 to 18 cohort have been fully vaccinated. On the international scene, at least 8 people were injured Tuesday morning morning when a New Jersey bus ran off a highway. It happened in Hamilton, which is about 35 miles away from Philadelphia. The New Jersey Transit bus lost control on the Atlantic City Expressway and crashed into trees on the side of the road. Authorities say at least 10 people trapped on the bus had to be rescued. The bus was headed for Philadelphia from Atlantic City. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Sandy William.
We head to a quick break now. When we come back, we'll have your midday sports report. Jordan Fort is standing by.
Welcome back. It's now time for Midday Sports. Jamaica's two-time Olympic double sprint champion Elaine Thompson-Herah has been confirmed for the 60 meters at the Orlen Copernicus Cup, a World Athletics Indoor Tour Gold meeting in Torun, Poland on February 22. Thompson-Herah, who opened her season with a 7.19 seconds clocking over the 60 meters at the Queen's Grace Jackson meet 2 weeks ago, is also set to contest the event at the Muller Indoor Grand Prix in Birmingham on February 19 before travelling to Torun. The five-time Olympic gold medalist has a personal best of 6.98 for the 60 meters from 2017. The world record for the event stands at 6.92, set by Irina Privalova in 1993. Two other Jamaicans, Olympic 100-meter hurdles bronze medalist Megan Tapper and Olympic mile relay medalist Renisha McGregor, are also slated to compete at the meet. The Orlen Copernicus Cup is the 6th World Athletics Indoor Tour Gold meeting of 2022. There are 7 gold-level meetings across the series. FIFA has dismissed a protest filed by the Jamaica Football Federation, JFF, over its 1-1 draw with the United States in a World Cup qualifier on November 16. In a 34-point, 8-page decision, FIFA's disciplinary committee said Jamaica failed to notify the match commissioner of the protest and failed to make a payment of 1,000 Swiss francs or $1,075 to accompany the protest. A report obtained by the Associated Press dated November 23 and signed by Director of FIFA Judicial Bodies Carlos Schneider on January 3 stated, quote, 2 out of the 3 conditions for a protest to be admissible from a procedural perspective had not been met. As such, the committee stressed that it had no other option but to consider the protest to be inadmissible, end quote. Jamaica said Costa Rican referee Juan Gabriel Calderon improperly called a handball in the first half when Reggae Boys claimed Chris Richards should have been penalised for a ball that struck him in the penalty area. Jamaica also said Damian Lowe should have been credited with a goal in the 84th minute when he leapt above Walker Zimmerman at the top of the 6-yard box and headed Leon Bailey's corner in to the left of goalkeeper Zach Steffen. Calderon cited Lowe for infringement and disallowed the goal. The English Premier League returns from its winter break with 3 matches, including Manchester United playing away to last place Burnley this afternoon at 3 o'clock Jamaica time. Manchester United are currently 4th in the standings on 38 points, 1 more than 5th placed West Ham United. West Ham, who welcome back reggae boy Mikel Antonio, who was recently on international duty with Jamaica, will also be in action when they welcome Watford at the London Stadium. Elsewhere on the day, it is the dawn of 2 new eras at St James's Park as a Newcastle side bolstered by several new January acquisitions host Everton in their first league game under Frank Lampard. National 50-meter breaststroke record holder Keto Campbell will be heading to the United States to continue his preparation for the rest of the 2022 season. This after a request to have his scholarship transferred from Jamaica to an approved FINA training center was granted by World Swimming's governing body. The development came about after Campbell's club, Kaizen Swim Club, was upset that a scholarship grant they requested from FINA was reduced by more than 60% by the Aquatic Sports Association of Jamaica, ASAJ. Campbell, who also holds the national 100-meter breaststroke record, will train at Azura Florida Aquatics in Davie, Florida from February 18 this year to February 17, 2023. Along with having a specialized coach and specialized training sessions, Campbell will receive full board accommodation, a nutrition plan, medical assistance, and will get to participate in FINA qualifying events. Last month, TVJ Sports reported that Kaizen had requested $2,250 in scholarship funds from FINA to go towards Campbell's development, but the ASAJ revised that figure to $700 after it said it did its own research and consulted with its finance committee. And Chris Gale cracked an unbeaten half-century to help leaders Fortune Barishal defeat last-place Sylhet Sunrisers by a narrow 12 runs in the Bangladesh Premier League today. Opening the innings, Gale cracked 52 not out as Fortune Barishal first posted 199 for 4. Fellow opener Munim Shariar made 51, while another West Indian, Dwayne Bravo, made 34 not out, and captain Shakib Al Hassan 38. In their chase, Select Sunrisers, who needed 18 off the last 3 balls of the match, came up short at 187 for 6. Colin Ingram top scored with 90 as Bravo took 2 for 42, and the player of the match, Shakib, 2 for 23. Fortune Barishal are atop the table with 13 points. And that's it for your Midday Sports Report. I'm Jordan Fort. Krista, it's back to you.
Thank you, Jordan. And that's it for the Midday News. I'm Krista Campbell. Join us again at 7 for Primetime News. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, good afternoon.